So hi, and we're just going to do another blog. It's slightly overdue. I've been meaning to do this, but I've just been busy for the last week or two. And I just want to start just by reading from Psalm 139. So I'm just going to look at this. And it says, "O Lord, you have examined my heart, and you know everything about me. You know when I sit down or when I stand up. You know my thoughts, even when I'm far away. You see me when I travel, when I rest at home. You know everything I do. You know what I'm going to say, even before I say it. You go before me and you follow me. You place your hand of blessing on my head. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too great for me to understand." And then there's that verse in Jeremiah, which says, "I know the plans that I have for you, plans for good and not for evil," and so on. 29 verse 11 in Jeremiah. And just thinking about this and thinking that the enemy who can see and function in the spiritual realm and also in the natural, with his intelligence and his ability to put two and two together, has probably sussed out to a certain degree what God has planned for us and what he's planned for you, what he's planned for me, what he's made us for, what he's equipped us for, and what he's doing in our lives and so on. And because of that, he sets about trying to frustrate God's plans. And in any event, he has certainly tried, for each one of us, tried to squash and frustrate what God wants to do in our lives. And there's that verse in Romans that says all things work together for good for those that love God and they're called according to his purpose. And God can use that squashing. He can use the frustration. He can use the times when we've given in to the squashing or the times when we've made mistakes and so on. He can use all that experience for good. Because, and this is a phrase which I sort of put together from out of something that somebody else said, but I sort of refined it slightly. Your past and present challenges and difficulties and failures actually are the soil in which your future successes and victories will grow. God allowed them. He didn't stop them, but he will use them to grow something that's fine and wonderful and great and beautiful and majestic that brings glory to his name. So we can look at those things and we can look at those past events as places of shame, as places of defeat, places of disqualification, but God looks at them as places of fertile planting places for the future victories and successes to grow in. And actually, when we talk about being disqualified, or feel that we're disqualified, or we listen to that little voice that says, "You're disqualified. You know you're not as good as if people knew what you'd done. You are disqualified." And we've all heard the voice like that when we listen to it, and so on sometimes. But actually, qualification doesn't come through what we've done or how many times we've failed or how many times we've succeeded or how good we are or how bad we are. Qualification comes, as it says in Colossians, through Jesus and what he's done for us. That's what qualifies us. Colossians 1:12, if you want to look it up. God is looking at what you will be and what you are becoming. I've got a friend called Mark who has a Jaguar car, a very old Jaguar, and he's busy restoring it. And I remember looking at it in the garage, and it wasn't the most appealing sight, because I'm interested in cars. It was interesting to me, but I could see some people going and think, what, that is just a heap, that needs so much doing. And the truth is, Mark doesn't see it like that. Mark goes in the garage and he sees it as what it will be when it's finished. When he's finished, in his mind's eye, he can see it shiny, paint perfect interior, engine purring away like a pussycat, and just rolling along a country road in the summer. That's how Mark sees it, because he sees the end from where he is now from the beginning, So God is not focused on our failures, our past. He's focused not on where we got things wrong, but on where he's taking us. And just remember that we're qualified because of what Jesus has done, not because we haven't achieved perfection yet or have tried. So in Philippians 1:6 it says, "He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion." That's a loose translation because I haven't got it in front of me, but you get the gist. He started it and he will finish it. It takes a cooperation from us, and it's a process, and sometimes it's a bit like a graph, and if you look at a graph, you don't, and the graph goes like up, down, as it goes across, but you don't focus on one tiny bit and say, oh, it's just gone down slightly, oh, we're in trouble, we're doomed, you look at where the graph started and where it finishes. That's what you're looking at. So it is a process. I was just thinking about when you're training a child, potty training, you've got the end in result. You're committed to this and you're going to see it through. After 3 days, if it doesn't work, you say, well, that's the end of that, abandon that, just chuck the potty in the bin. He's never will take the toilet out, he's never going to have that. You're committed, you're going to see it through, and that's how God is with us. And he's not counting your failures. And the truth is, actually, he knows your past mistakes, and he also knows your future ones, but he is committed to you and he's going to see it through, and he's busy working in you, and we need to cooperate with that. This is what it is. It's this process. We need to cooperate in it, not give up, not put our hands on our heads, go, oh no, we're doomed, this is the end of it. This never works, I always get things wrong. We need to cooperate because he's taking us from there up to there. He's got us in a process. Like Mark's car in the garage, he can see what the finished object is going to be like, and he's not disappointed. He's working. So let's grow, let's work with him, let's just partner with him, and not be put off, because it's the enemy that wants to put you off, because he can see, he has a sense of where God wants to take you, and if we allow ourselves to be put off, we won't reach that goal. So really, the 11th commandment, which somebody once told me, is thou shalt bash on. All right, let's crack on, guys.